had days where I would lay in my bed and I would cry. I was terrified that when I seen him pass on the highway, my heart would drop. And I would say, what if he follows me? He could have took my life. He could have. But he didn't. He didn't.
Welcome to the world around us, and I'm your host, Beatriz Caraballo. Today we're going to talk about a very serious topic that is going around, and it's going around underground because we hide it too many times. And the topic is domestic violence, and I'm going to give you an overview of the domestic violence. Domestic violence can take place in heterosexual and same-sex family relationships and can involve violence against children in the family. Domestic violence can take a number of forms, including physical, verbal, emotional, economic, religious, and sexual abuse. Domestic violence victims may be trapped through isolation, power, and control, cultural acceptance, lack of financial resources, fear, shame, or to protect the children. Domestic violence occurs when the abuser believes the abuse is acceptable, justified, or unlikely to be reported. 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced domestic violence. 1 in every 4 men worldwide have experienced domestic violence. 38% of murders of women are committed by an intimate partner. 65,000 domestic violence offenses have been reported to the police in the year of 2012 nationwide. And today we're going to have a guest. And today our guest is going to be Michelle Matthews. Michelle Matthews is one of the founding members which currently serves as a committee for survivors to testimony outreach prevention at Providence House. She is an advocate, speaker, and survivor of domestic violence. She helps to mentor the survivors as well as the new arrivals at the Safe House and Counseling Center. Michelle, welcome. Thank you for coming to my show.
Thank you for having me.
The world around us welcomes you, and this is a very important topic, and I'm so glad that you agreed to share your story.
I'm glad to be a part of your World Around Us show.
Now, Michelle, you are a survivor.
I am.
So tell us about your story.
Well, first I'll tell you a little about me.
Absolutely.
My name is Michelle Matthews, and I'm a mother of 2 and a grandmother of 1. And about 7 years, maybe 6 years ago, I found myself in an abusive relationship. I was with my abuser for 10 years. Before I even sought help, I didn't even realize that I was being abused. And I say that because he would do little things as far as just pinching, hair pulling, name calling.
And you thought nothing of it?
I thought nothing of it. I think I became immune to it. It was just...
It's just him.
It's him. And he's just who he is. I think over the years, after I got counseling, I thought about how did I get here? How did this become me? And I remember the very first day that should have been the last day. And we were in the car and we were driving. And he screamed in my face. And I remember this day clearly because I thought to myself, he must just be angry. He's having a bad day.
Called your attention.
Yeah. And I just chopped it up. And that's when it all began. Through the years, we had a son together. I had already had a daughter.
Okay. Your daughter's from a previous marriage?
Yes. Yes. She was about 1.5 years when we met. And a few years later, we had my son. And over the years, thinking back, I should have known because when I was pregnant with him, we got into an altercation.
While you were pregnant?
Yes. Regarding my daughter and her father. And he wanted information. And this
about
day,
him?
And this day he put his hands around my neck and began to strangle me. Did I think anything of it? No.
Nothing.
But I did tell my mom that day, and she was like, go to the police. But I
And did
did
you?
it. I did.
Mm.
Unwillingly.
Mhm.
I only wanted to report it. I just wanted on record that he did it. Even at the police
You didn't
station.
want to pursue it.
No.
Mm.
Even at the police station, when they asked me, do you want to press charges?
Mm-hmm.
Where is he at?
Yeah,
I
because they
don't
always
know.
ask.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to a judge over the phone, and he asked me if I was in danger. And I said no, or if I felt fearful for my life, and I said no.
Did you?
No.
You didn't feel any fear?
Because once again, I just thought he's angry. He was
Mm.
just mad, and he won't do it again. I think the cycle of violence in my home wasn't an everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it never even resonated with me that I'm being abused.
Mm.
And it wasn't until the year that I lost my job and he began to stalk me that I think like something is really wrong. And I
But
spoke to
still not labeling it domestic violence.
I don't even think I even heard the word domestic violence.
Okay.
I didn't come
Okay.
from a home where there was abuse. So
Okay.
so this wasn't
So that's not something in your vocabulary.
No.
Mm.
I didn't see women or men in my home or my family being abused.
Mm-hmm.
So I never even thought about it until I talked to my friend and he said, you need to get help.
Mm.
Even at that point, what do I need help for? And even keeping it close, it's
I don't
quiet.
have a problem.
Exactly. It's quietly kept.
Mm.
I recall a day
Mhm.
when he wanted to come over to my house. As a matter of fact, I recall the day that it was the day before my daughter's birthday party, and he came over unannounced, and I told him this has to stop. And I remember him getting angry, and I could
At
see
what you
him,
said.
Mhm. And I could see, excuse me, I could see him getting angry. And he said, I don't have to do anything. And I told him, this part of my life is over. And he backhanded me. And he left a bruise on my face. And I could literally feel my face
Burning. Mm.
And I think that was the first time that he actually hit me in my face. And I was so shocked. But I was so shocked to the point, how am I going to cover this up? I have a party to go to tomorrow.
Still hiding. Still hiding.
Hiding.
And trying to protect him, or were you just doing it because you didn't want anybody to know?
I
You know,
didn't
the
want
big
anybody
secret.
to know. I didn't want anybody to know. I felt like this is my issue, and I have to stop this because this is my problem. And I think even that night, my children were home,
Mm.
so I knew I have to cover it up, and I have to make sure that tomorrow when I show up at this party, I'm the same person that everybody always sees me as.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was good at covering things up. To me,
Mm.
I was good at covering things up.
That's usually what the women think.
That is.
Yes.
And
But there's always something noticeable. Let it be a behavior, the way you change the way you act around others.
I think the one thing, the many things that I recall is I lost family members.
Now, did he force you to lose family members, or you just did it because?
He didn't force me, but it became they don't even want to be bothered with you. It became a brainwashing thing.
Mhm.
Why do you want to talk to them? And I felt like, oh, he just wants me to myself.
Psychological control.
That's all
yes.
he wants is
Mhm.
me to me to all to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you thought that was the cutest
That
thing
was
on
the
this
world.
Yes.
and we weren't it wasn't even a relationship where we were out dating and we were doing these fantastic things together. We were living together. But maybe this is how I'm supposed to be. Maybe this is normal. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Did you go through that with your previous husband?
No. We weren't married, but
Mm-hmm.
no. He was the
Total opposite?
total opposite. Total opposite.
So this was totally new for you.
It was new, and even him, he would say, you don't belong with him. Leave him alone.
Mm.
And he would even confront my abuser. But not in a way that you're abusing her. It was just, I don't want this man around my daughter. And I didn't even get it then.
Mm. You didn't recognize what he was doing for you. Usually, when you're going through that, you're like, listen, mind your business. Don't worry about it.
I'm
I
fine.
got this.
I'm fine.
Yes.
I could do this by
Mhm.
myself.
You're just jealous.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yeah.
And we're laughing, but this is not a laughing matter. We're laughing because these are things that women and even men, because like I said, 1 in 4 men go through this abuse. So we're laughing, but it is not a laughing matter. This is something very serious that women worldwide go through, and they hide it behind these smiles. And the smile covers the story, covers the bruising, covers whatever is going on in their privacy of their home. So don't think that she's smiling because it's funny, or I'm smiling because it's funny. I've been through it, and I'm telling you, these are laughters that now we can laugh and say, oh my God, I can't believe we went through that. I can't believe I put myself through that. Because now you become wiser to the situation, and you know what you're looking for.
Absolutely. I think even on I think our last encounter, when he came to my home, and I felt like this man is going to take my life. He pushed me up against the wall, and I had a hole in the wall, an imprint, and
from him pushing you.
And you know, as a young child, you're always taught if somebody hits you, you hit them back.
Mm-hmm.
So that became, well, you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. So it's okay in my mind at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Until I found myself in a fetal position, and this man was giving me body blows like I was another man.
Ooh.
And it became apparent that this has to stop. This has to stop. So,
now, did your kids see the abuse? Did they witness any of that?
to my knowledge, no. At the time, I thought, you keep them quiet, or a lot of the abuse came when he went to school, when the children went to school, and he would come to my home.
But you had the bruisings.
The bruisings were always covered because he would never. That one time he hit me in my face, but the bruises were always covered
underneath your clothes.
My clothing.
Mm-hmm. And you start to wear the long sleeves,
Absolutely,
and the turtlenecks, and the jackets, and you hide everything behind a smile.
Yep.
So I totally understand.
Like the coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And even looking back when I was with him at my previous job, I was mean. And I was nasty. Or I just didn't have that I want to be here attitude. I just came here to do my job, and I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be bothered.
Now, why was the attitude? Why do you think you carried that attitude?
Somebody was mean to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like my home isn't happy, so I wasn't happy, and I didn't even realize that at the time.
And that's the sad part, because you're almost wanting to tell, but how do you tell on the person that you so love?
But my way of thinking is, what am I going to tell? Because there was nothing going on. He wasn't
totally blocked the whole thing.
Totally, or it might happen every 3 months, or once every 6 months, or he was angry, or you start to blame yourself, like, oh, well, maybe if I had made this for dinner, or maybe if I had did this, or maybe if the kids were in bed when he came home, we wouldn't have this problem. So
it would be more relaxed. Yes, absolutely. And it's not about what you did.
No,
at all. It's just his behavior.
It's who he is.
Yeah, that's how he's built. Do you know if he was going through abuse when he was small? Maybe he learned it.
I don't really know anything about his family.
Okay.
So I have no clue. But I always think to myself, you can control your actions.
Mm-hmm.
You can control putting your hands on somebody. And for you to come home and abuse the person who loved you.
And you love.
Right. And you don't go on the streets and abuse and hit on men, but you can come home and abuse.
Did he ever hit the kids?
No.
Never the kids?
No.
It was just you?
Yes.
His anger was all on you?
All on me.
And you blamed yourself for it?
I did.
The majority of the time? Did you think you were pretty when you were going through it?
I did. But that was one of the things he always used to say: "You're fat. Nobody else is gonna ever want you."
Another control factor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, okay, I need to lose weight,
Mm-hmm.
but I got you,
Mm.
and you're not, and you still haven't gone anywhere. So I can't be that fat. So I
Mhm.
just kind of,
You're like,
yeah,
I got this.
Mm-hmm.
But you
You
don't got that. No. Mm-mm.
I decided after my friend had told me to go get help.
Mm.
And the first day I pulled in the parking lot of the Providence House, I was terrified
Of going in?
to go in. And I was more afraid of who's going to know me or who's going to know me.
And what are they going to say?
Mm-hmm. And what are they going to think about me?
Gossip and rumor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my friend again. And I was like, I can't do this.
Mm.
And he was like, you're there for the same reason they're
Everybody
there.
is. Mm-hmm.
So I walked through the doors and I was greeted by an angel.
Mm.
And I always tell them that you have the best people in place
At the right time.
at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first day of my journey of healing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you could have done absolutely anything different through the whole situation?
I probably should have left sooner.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Why?
I shouldn't even say have left. I was the breadwinner. So I should have made him leave sooner.
Were you afraid of telling him to leave?
I was afraid to tell him to leave because where was he going to go? And I felt like I was all he had.
Mm.
I was afraid to tell him to leave because now I'm going to be by myself.
And you didn't like loneliness?
I didn't even know what loneliness felt like. And looking back, I was already lonely.
Mm.
We didn't share a bed.
Okay.
We
Just a
it
life.
was like, yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is he close to his son?
He has not seen his son in probably 6 years.
Is that
Or
your
longer.
choice or his?
His
choice.
his choice.
Are you hurting
But-
because of that?
Because
Because you see him as an abuser, but you still know that that's his son.
I have had numerous people say, take him to court for child support.
Mm.
And my reasoning for not is because he may want access to my son.
And you're afraid
And
of?
I could not give him access to my son. I could not.
Like custody, you mean?
Even visitation.
You're that scared of that?
In the beginning, I was fearful of allowing this man back into my life because after I'd healed, I hadn't seen him for years.
And to bring back.
And to bring him back,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what kind of lifestyle he lives. I don't know what my son would be walking into.
Or learning.
I couldn't do that to my baby.
So you were that afraid. And are you still afraid?
I'm not afraid, but I want my son to, when my son was little and his father left, he was angry. He was an angry child. And through Providence House, they had a PALS program, and I didn't feel like I wanted him to go. He may have needed to go, but I felt like, once again, I'll take care of this.
It's
But
my
I knew
problem,
that,
I'll
right,
go.
I'll go. I'll get the help that I need, and I'll help him. But I did see that in my house there was laughter, and my children could laugh, and they could stay up late, and they could be children. So over the years, he's a totally different person.
But now he knows that you went through that abuse, because now he's an older
15.
child.
Yeah.
He's not that little baby that you can hide things from anymore. So now he knows. Does he ever scold you about it, or does he embrace you?
He embraces it.
Mm.
He knows that I want to start a nonprofit for domestic violence.
Oh,
And
nice.
he says, I'm going to come work for you. And I ask him, what are you going to do? Or we'll pass a building. And he's like, that could be your building. And then you can help people. So he gets it. But then I have to go. It all goes back to, when are you going to want to see your father? When is that part going to ease back?
Now, eventually, do you think he'll want to see his father?
I'm sure.
And that moment is terrifying. So you really are afraid of letting him go.
I'm afraid of letting him go because, as our children, they can't protect themselves. So
Are you afraid that he might be abused?
No, I'm not afraid that he'll abuse him. I don't even know if he'll even try to brainwash him to make it seem like, oh, your mom made me.
Was he close to his son when he was little?
No.
So how do you know that that's going to happen?
I think because if there was a connection between the two,
Mm-hmm.
he would have stuck around even for his son.
Mm.
But I know that he didn't want any parts of his son. So when he left, he closed that door.
So even if he were to go see his father now, you know.
I can assume I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what
would happen.
Yeah.
Have you seen him ever since?
No.
Do you want to see him at all?
Absolutely not.
Are you happier now?
I am.
Every time I see you, you're smiling, so it must be. It must be.
I am happy. I feel alive.
Now, your daughter was 1 when everything
When
was
we
going
met.
on.
So she probably about 5. So
has she spoken about it?
we never really had the conversation about me and that situation. But I do tell her, you know what I went through. Because I do recall a day when she called the police.
Your daughter?
Yes. She
To
called
save you?
911. Yeah.
She was little.
Yeah, she was little.
See? So you didn't hide it?
No, but that's looking back.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I was.
Mm-hmm.
Or even at the day she called, I didn't even think anything about her calling. It didn't even resonate that she just made a 911 phone call.
To save you?
To
save
her mom.
mommy? Because that's important to her.
Mm-hmm.
So what was going on when she called?
He was probably yelling.
And she got scared?
She was scared.
Or she just probably had enough?
I don't even know if she's old enough to have enough, but I think she was probably afraid.
Do you think that children have enough? Do they get to that point like we do and we say no more?
At that age,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I'll share with you. My kids did. My kids had enough. And my kids told me no more. And my kids said, this is it. You have to make the choice. You have to leave them. This is it. We saw too much. My oldest, he went through the abuse himself. And that's what scared me, is when I saw that. I knew that had to stop.
That's one of the things that scared me afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, is this a behavior that I taught my daughter?
Mm.
But then I look back and say she was young but old enough to know that mom finally said this is enough.
So you talk to her now about domestic
I do.
violence?
I do.
And she knows that's not right.
She does.
Very good.
She does.
So you're empowering her.
I am, but I also never ever sugarcoated anything for her.
Mm.
So when she got to that age where we can have that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have the boy talk, you have this domestic violence talk, so that when she gets ready to experience something, she knows I can go to my mom. And I always tell her, what you get from your friends is not what you're going to get from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And your mom is going to give it to you, but she's always going to support you.
Even if you don't like to hear
Even
it.
if you don't want to hear it.
Yes. Because, they put the cotton in the ears like.
But you know they're listening. But I
Yes.
know that even for her, she's listening because she'll come back and she'll say, Mom, you were right. You were right. So that gives me comfort to know that I did something right. I did.
And your son, is he gentle? A gentleman?
He is. He's like,
I've seen him twice, and he's so quiet.
He's very quiet. He's quiet. He's laid back. And I don't know if that's a lot from
what went through.
Yeah. I know that even when he was a baby, he never stayed with anybody. Never.
He wanted you only.
He wanted to stay with me. And my family would always say, well, he's spoiled and he doesn't want to stay with us. But I think he felt that need to stay home to protect his mom. As young as he was, he probably, they feel the turmoil that we experience. And I think that's what he felt. And it wasn't until
that was his
maybe
way
he
of
was like
protecting
6 or probably even older when he decided he was going to spend the night at my mom's for the first time.
And you were shocked.
I'm like, where's my baby? But I was happy
He's
because
growing up.
He knew that I was okay.
But by then, he was gone. Your abuser.
Yes, he was gone.
So he felt comfortable then. Now, anybody in your family, your friends, did they know what you were going through? Or did you really hide it?
I hid it. I hid the abuse. But I think the parts that they did see was at family functions. He wouldn't come.
Oh.
He wouldn't come be a part of it, but he would show up. And he would want me to come outside and just talk, just to talk. Or to call my cell phone.
Instead of coming to join you.
Yeah, when are you coming home? You've been out long enough. And it was just...
And you would
bye. Leave? No.
You would
I would
stay.
just say bye. Or then at some point, I would just rush home. Like, I got to get home. Or it became... and I say this only because I look back at what the timelines of events that occurred. And I say to myself, how did I let that happen? How did that happen when you rush to the grocery store and he calls, where are you at? And I could tell him I went to A, B, and C. But if he found out I went to D, oh, you lied. You lied because...
You weren't at the other places.
Yeah, it's like, well, it wasn't a lie. I went there and I forgot to tell you I went to D. So I found myself always having to defend everything I did. Everything I did.
Were you careful, when you're walking on eggshells?
That's not my house.
And you don't know what to say. And you don't know how to say it. Because you don't know how he's going to take it. Did you feel like that?
All the time.
All day?
All the time.
Did you go out with him at all?
No.
No?
In the beginning we did. But
he wasn't aggressive in the beginning?
No.
It was slowly. So was it maybe mental in the beginning?
It was.
And you didn't notice?
It was that controlling. I didn't know.
You didn't notice? To you it was like nothing. See, and that's how they start. Or they start by...
wooing you.
Yes.
Like, oh, here's flowers. Or
yes.
Here's something.
You're the most spectacular woman in the world. You're gorgeous.
And you already know you are.
Yeah.
So
yes.
He's just confirming what you already know.
Yes. Because you are. Regardless what you're going through. You are. You just have to look inside of yourself and pull it out and stand there and say, this is not going to continue to happen because I am
and it's hard for somebody to say that I'm not going to allow this to happen anymore. Or sometimes the fear of leaving is greater than the fear of staying. Because when you leave, he's going to find you. And what's going to happen when he finds me? So if I stay, I can continue to walk on eggshells and everything will be okay.
But he's here, so you see what he's doing.
And I can control what I'm doing.
You're controlling, supposedly, controlling the situation. Were you afraid of leaving because just of the abuse that he would find you? Or was it financially? Was it because you had a son with him?
I was more afraid of I couldn't leave. I told myself I wouldn't leave because that was my home.
Oh, okay.
So to tell
he
him
came
to
live
leave
with you.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To tell him to leave would be something different. And when I did say you can leave, or you don't need to be here, or I want you to leave, it just became like a war zone to say. So it was just like, oh, just stay, whatever. You sleep on the couch. I have my bedroom. My kids are fine, and that's just how I live my life.
Every time he wakes up, what do you think? What goes through your head?
Then? I don't know. I don't even remember.
See, every time I would hear him wake up, I would be like, oh no, the monster's awake.
That was when he pulled in the driveway.
Oh.
So I could hear his car coming.
And that would just panic you.
Your heart drops.
Yes.
Your heart drops. Because what is it going to be? And it wasn't even that I thought he was going to come in and physically or emotionally abuse me. It was just the fear of, oh God, he's home.
Yeah.
Or you can't talk on the phone because you're always on the phone. So if you're talking to somebody, I got to go. And I wouldn't say because he came home, I just got to go. So I'll talk to you later.
Mine was, I'm cooking.
So
I cooked a whole lot. I cooked too much.
So I think that was my way of saying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a peaceful home.
Mm-hmm.
So if he pulls in that drive, when I heard that car, I got to go.
Just to keep it quiet
Mm-hmm.
and peaceful in there. Did he ask you the whole routine of the day? There's those
Sometimes-
abusers that want to know what
sometimes,
you
but
did all day.
even on one occasion, he came to my job. I had went out for lunch.
Mm.
And
And he showed up
he-
unexpected.
Unexpected. And then I got a phone call at work. No, matter of fact, I think he waited until I got home. Where were you today? And I said I went to work. Well, I came to your job.
Oh. And you didn't know.
I didn't know because I didn't even have a chance to process, well, where was I when he came?
Mm-hmm. Because
And I
you
didn't-
stop to think.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what did I do? Wait, what?
Yes.
And you
Yep.
go through your whole
Mhm.
steps.
Mhm.
Yes.
And never even thought to myself, where was I?
Mhm.
But I began to ask questions. Well, who opened the door? So then I went to work the next day and I was like, did somebody come to the door and you told him I wasn't here today? So I was angry at somebody else for telling him
Mm-hmm.
that I wasn't there.
Because now he had started some
Mhm.
problems with you at home. So you took it out on someone else.
Mhm. I did.
So his anger was passed on to you and you took it to everybody.
Yep.
Were you angry at the kids?
No.
Were
No.
they your safe havens?
They were, and at some point after I lost my job, my grandparents' home became my safe haven. Because he would come to my home in the morning. I would take them to school. He would
Mhm.
come to my house in the morning. And I felt like, okay, so to prevent him from coming to my house, I'm going to leave. And I would go sit at my grandparents' house all day until I had to pick up my kids.
Oh, he wouldn't
But
go there.
He would, but he wouldn't lash out. He knew where my grandparents lived, but he would just come and he just want to quietly.
Just the nicest lamb there was.
Mhm.
But those are the really bad ones, I tell you.
You know, many people do know my abuser, and I always tell people if he was to walk in this room, you'd probably think he was a comedian. He was the nicest person ever,
Mm-hmm.
and have no idea that he was a
Mhm.
monster.
Mm-hmm.
He walked through the door and he was a monster, or he picked up the phone and he was a monster.
Mm-hmm.
I often ask myself, does he even know that what he did was wrong?
Did you ever confront him
About what?
about the domestic violence? Did you say, listen, you can't keep doing this to me. You can't keep hurting me. You can't keep hitting me.
The last day I seen him, I said, I'm done. I can't do this. And I don't know if he knew at that moment the
Mhm.
look of I'm physically done, like emotionally done. I can't do this anymore. And I remember going to counseling that week, and they had a box and it said let go and let God, and I put his name in that box, and I have not seen that man since. So I'm going to say that the power of prayer was very,
Yes,
very
it is.
powerful. And
Yes, it
I
is.
haven't seen him, but I also prayed every day that God don't bring him back into my life until I'm ready, or until you see fit ready for me to confront this man. So
you really believe that there will be no time that you'll see him again?
I think there is going to be a time.
You think so?
I do.
Because of your son? Because of that one link between the both?
I think it could be because of that.
Mm.
And I think that at some point, I think that monster will come back. Whether
And
it's
how are you
from
going to
my
face that?
son- I don't know. I do know this because I know after the first couple of months when I seek counseling, I was terrified that when I seen him pass on the highway, my heart would drop. And I would say, what if he follows me? Did
he know you went to the Providence house? Oh, he never knew. Okay. Did you have to go to the safe house?
No.
There?
No.
So you stayed in
I
your
stayed
home?
in my home. I
Okay.
stayed in my home. I didn't want to uproot my children, and I
Mhm.
felt like because this is my home,
Mhm.
I shouldn't have to be uprooted. But knowing what I know now, it is okay to be uprooted because for my children's safety. And I didn't even realize then that my children could have been removed from my home because of the violence.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many things that I did learn going
Mhm.
through the Providence house that I don't say I regret anything I went through
Mhm.
because it made me who I am today, but it definitely has gave me shed light on what domestic violence is and how it affects everybody in your family.
How does it affect, or how did it affect your family?
It became now I have to tell people, but I don't tell them my story.
So they know that you went through abuse without the details.
Yeah, in the beginning.
So in the
now
beginning, okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to spare them. I don't want to inflict my pain on somebody else or somebody to feel like we could have saved her. But I think at some point I wanted somebody to save me. I wanted somebody to say, something is going on, come here. Because where are you going to go with 2 kids?
That's what every parent thinks, is that I have kids. Where am I going to go? Who's going to help me? And what's going to go on now? What's the next thing that's going to happen? What's the next step that I should take?
And I had no idea what I would do. What am I going to do?
So what are the steps that need to be taken once you decide that you're going to leave? What should they do?
I would recommend that, one, you make sure you have a safe plan on leaving. Sometimes that means setting up a separate bank account, even in somebody else's name, or setting it up in your name and having the address at somebody else's location, so that he has no access. Pack a bag for you and your children, and
for that time,
and leave it with somebody, because you may have to leave. Have a spare set of keys. I'd rather not say where to hide the keys, but have a set of keys somewhere to your vehicle, so that if you have to run, you know you can come back for your vehicle. So give somebody a spare key.
Should someone get involved in helping you get out, or should you just do it on your own?
I didn't want anybody to be involved.
So you did it on
your
own?
Because I did because I feared that, there were times when he would come to my home and he would say, "I have a gun under the seat, and I'll kill you or I'll kill your family." So that became another issue. I have to save me. I can't involve anybody else because you don't want to put your family at risk. So
should they do it alone?
No.
Not alone. No. So who should they call? Should they call a pastor to come help? Should they call their neighbor to come help? Should that safe place where they go, should that person be the one that helps them get out?
I personally wouldn't recommend to go somewhere where you know your abuser is. Knows where you're going to go. Right. So a safe house until you get to another location.
Is there a number where they can call, like a national hotline, or maybe the Providence number where they can call? Well, I'll give you the Providence number. Providence number 856-824-0599. That's the Providence House where Michelle went for a safe haven. And the national hotline for domestic violence is 800-799-7233. Again, 800-799-7233. Don't stay with your abuser, male or female. Don't stay there. Child, don't stay there. If it's your mom, your dad, tell someone that you're being abused. Don't stay there. There are places and there are people that are interested in keeping you safe and are keeping people like Michelle. Because Michelle is now a counselor and she helps people. So can someone get in contact with you in any way?
My email address is unitedagainstdv03@yahoo.com.
So you have information that can help you get out safely. Do it safely. Do it now. Don't be afraid of taking that step, because that step is going to give you your life back, and it's worth it. Do it afraid. It's worth it. God's with you. So we have some questions for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready? Did your child see the abuse, the child that you have with him?
In the beginning, I thought he didn't, until the other day.
Recently. He said
And
something.
He did, because I asked him about the event that we held and if he understood what domestic violence really was. And I asked him about his father. And I said, do you remember the way he acted? And he said, yeah, I do.
So he did see.
He did say.
And all this time we were thinking, no, they do see.
They do say.
We try to hide everything and they still see and they still hear. Those little ears and those little eyes are always paying attention. Are you still afraid of your abuser?
No.
Why?
Because I'm in a different space. I now know that what domestic violence is. I do know that what he did was wrong, and there are resources available. So I think it may sound bad, but I would kind of dare him to try something at this point, because I would definitely call the police and have him locked up.
Because you know the process, and you know
Yes.
that you're okay if you call the police and you report this, which is what you should do. But
Absolutely.
a lot of women and men are
Or
afraid.
And I even, when I did a training with the police, local police department, that was one of the things that I stressed to them, that when you walk through a victim's door, whether it be one time or 20 times, treat each time like it was the first. Because that may be the one time that you save her life. And it's not that she's playing games or that she doesn't want the help. She's afraid to get the help.
Because they lose their patience.
You
You're
feel
calling
like
me
they
again.
do.
You're
You
calling
do.
me again, but you're not leaving. You're not doing anything. You keep calling us, and we're trying to help you, but you're not helping yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you feel so frustrated.
So then even as the victim, it's like, why even call? Because the last people were here didn't really seem to want to get involved. So I always encourage, whether it's law enforcement or family and friends, that when you get that call, don't judge. Because you might save her life at that moment, and she may not even be calling for your advice. She just may need a sound ear. Somebody
As
to
humans,
talk
that's
her,
what we do.
right,
As
talk her off off that ledge.
Yes, and save her. Because as humans, the first thing that comes is,
Leave.
what in the world's wrong with you, girl?
You're crazy. Or
Why are you
like
still
this.
here? Do you like getting hit? I mean, what? And you look at them like, what did you just say to me?
Nobody wants to be abused.
Exactly.
And so many times I've talked to so many women, and one thing that most of us do want is to be loved.
And you try to find it. How has this experience changed your mindset in your life?
Well, my mindset has changed, where I view the world differently. Where I think
Better?
maybe, absolutely. I think that I always thought that people were bad, or that there wasn't, I know, because I viewed myself as being a mean person, that I'm grateful for life. I wake up in the morning and I thank God for another day. Because when I think back on what could have been, my life could have been taken. So I'm thankful for my children, my grandbaby, and my support system. But more importantly, I think that I'm a better person because I can smile and I can laugh, and I feel like I'm enjoying life.
Now you're really breathing.
Now I am.
Yes. Are you dating again?
I am.
And are you happy?
I am.
So do you feel this person is safe to be around? Or could it at any moment go back to what it was?
I
Do you live in that fear?
I definitely feel that the person I'm with is not that other person. He's not that. He's not an abuser.
Because sometimes we carry that baggage to
I
our
do.
next relationship. And then we blame that person for what that other person did.
I do.
You do.
I do that. And
so you
I
have
feel-
had to learn.
it's definitely a learning process. Because it could be, I know for in my current relationship, he doesn't yell. He's not a yeller.
Are you?
Sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Because I want to get my point across. I'm just talking loud. I don't yell. I'm just talking loud to get my point across. But I found that it could be something little. That triggers me to act the way I do, and it makes me feel bad. So before I react, I have to kind of stop and think to myself, okay, how are you going to handle this?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the abuse has changed my life.
So are there any consequences that you have now, or that you've noticed within yourself, physically, mentally, whatever, from the domestic violence?
I think that if I wasn't dating now, I would probably be afraid to date. I would.
That scared, huh?
And I think, not that there's not good men in the world, because I definitely think that. I think that I would protect myself. I would, I had a conversation with a girlfriend, and she told me that she's a survivor, and she said she can't even get to that point of looking a man in his face because she's afraid.
But you're not afraid anymore.
I'm not afraid. I'm afraid.
So you're open to the relationship.
Oh, I'm definitely open, but I do understand how one person could alter your life forever.
Now, I know that there are consequences for your health that can happen. Do you have PTSD, depression?
I've never been diagnosed with it, but when I read up on it, I know I do. I believe I do. I suffer from anxiety, and so those things have altered my life.
So as calm as you are, you're on pins and needles.
It could, yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. I know that depression sneaks up a lot more because I'm a very visual kind of person, so I think of everything. I have to think every scenario over.
And you doubt everything?
I do. Like, oh, should I do this? Should I do it? Because I think somebody always doubted me, or somebody always told me that this wasn't good enough. So while I think that this is the right move, I don't know if it's going to be the right move.
So you get in your own way.
I do. Oh, I do. I do.
I know that going through domestic violence, I have another friend that went through really bad domestic violence. She was dragged 5 blocks underneath her husband's car. She's actually blind now. When I went to see her, her skin was literally coming off of her. And I give her, she's so brave. She's amazing. Rosa Torres, when you see the video, I'm talking about you because I've always thought that you are very brave for what you're doing, because now you are giving those women a voice that don't have a voice, and you're standing up to their abusers, and you're not afraid to do it. You're not afraid to stand for them, just like Michelle does it now. And you do it not only through your voice and through being active in the community, but you wrote a book. And I know that Michelle is also thinking about writing a book. And so you ladies are, to me, superheroes, because you're brave. You're brave enough to be a voice for those women that are still afraid to have their voice. So I got to thank you for all that stuff.
Thank you.
I got to thank you for all that stuff. Now, did you get hit while you were pregnant?
No, but he did strangle me while I was pregnant.
Okay. Did that scare you?
It did in the moment. In the moment, it did.
In the moment. In the moment.
The moment as he had his hands around my neck, it did scare me. But it didn't scare me to say, this is enough.
Not enough at that point.
At that point.
Even though you were pregnant.
Even though I was pregnant.
You didn't think that would harm the baby at all?
it didn't even cross my mind because I knew at the time that he was mad because I wouldn't do what he wanted me to do.
Mm.
So
You blamed yourself then again.
I blame myself for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
And now you don't do that. Now you don't see yourself to blame.
No, I definitely know I was never to blame. And that's one thing that, talking or dealing with so many women, that they have to know that you're not to blame.
Mm-hmm.
This is not your fault.
That's the biggest inner fight that you have.
It is, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that once you take that stand back a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
then you realize this is not my issue. This is his issue.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing that you could have done to prevent it.
Mm-hmm.
I always ask, well, what could I have done? There's nothing that I could have done.
To change nothing. No.
He is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But I do encourage people to definitely tell their story. That has been one of the things that have helped me to heal.
Telling your
Telling
story.
my story.
Because you never know who's listening and who might just take that risk that you did. And
I know when I first started, I would stand in front of people and I would cry.
where was your first time that you shared your story?
My first time was the prosecutor's office in Burlington County.
Oh, gee. Against him?
No, I was just doing a speaking engagement as a survivor.
Oh, wow.
And it was law enforcement in the room, prosecutors, judges.
Mm.
So it was kind of tough because it is definitely emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I know back then, as I was going through that process, I cried a lot.
And I can imagine all the eyes looking at you, and you're like, am I saying the right words?
Exactly.
And you want to make an impact because these are the people that come to your house to rescue you.
Mm-hmm.
When you make that 911 call, do you think that they're prepared to help victims? And I'm talking about law enforcement.
I think they're prepared, but we also have to remember they're human.
Mm-hmm.
That I know there's been times in anybody's life that somebody comes to you with any circumstance
Mm-hmm.
and you're tired of talking
Mm-hmm.
until you're blue in the face
Yeah.
to this person. So I don't blame law enforcement for not saving victims.
Mm-hmm.
I just say that they're human. They're human. And everybody makes mistakes.
Now you have to work with them.
Yes.
And you have a great relationship with all of them.
I do.
Because I went to your domestic violence event the other evening, and it was surprising that they were there. They were front and center, and they're very supportive of all of you guys.
I think that it's because domestic violence now has, I guess, hit home to so many people that we can't keep silent anymore, that we have to change the dynamics of getting victims help.
Mm-hmm. And my friend Rosa, her book is actually, I asked you about law enforcement because there's always the two sides. And Rosa's book is about the abuse hidden behind the badge, because her husband was a police officer in Philadelphia.
I read that book.
And so although she doesn't hate police officers, she hate what that one person did to her. And so everybody thinks, well, you're against police, and she's actually not. Because a lot of them do work with her and have worked with her and continue to work with her to help victims. So when I saw that support that they gave you, that was really, really cool. I like that. I like that. And I liked that a gentleman spoke at the event.
Yes.
Because we always think that it's a woman.
It's a woman.
And it was not. He blew me.
He blew me.
Okay. I was like, wow, did you just say?
It was because I think that even for a man, that's
a big no-no.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because that's like taking something from your manhood that you're allowing a woman to abuse you. But more importantly, he was brave enough to stand up and say, this is enough. And he stood in front of a crowd full of people and told his story.
Yeah, and he said it in such a beautiful way, because he wrote a poem about it and about his hands. And
Yes.
I could, when he walked up, I was like, what is he going to talk about? I had an attitude already. And then he started talking, and I was like, wait, he's not what I think.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And I was proud of him for doing that because, like you said, men,
they don't talk about it, or they
go through stress, depression, anxiety,
just like we do,
and we put all this burden on them because they're supposed to be our shoulder to cry on. But gee, who's their shoulder to cry on?
Exactly.
So I was really proud of him to get up and speak. You are going to start an organization.
I would love to start a nonprofit for victims or survivors.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to get a safe house, a safe home where women can get healing.
What is a safe home?
A safe home is a place of shelter where women and children can go when they leave their abuser.
And does the abuser know whether you safe home?
That's why it's called safe house. So it's really not. It's not. The address is unknown.
Okay.
For safety reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they need, when you leave, some women are not financially able to take care of themselves. So they need resumes, or they just need that support.
Yeah, one of the ladies that spoke said that she had not worked in such a long time that she didn't know how to start over. Mm-hmm. And so she's now in a part-time job, and she feels great just about doing this part-time job. She was like so happy about it. And you would think it's only a part-time job.
Right.
But to her, it's such a big thing because you're coming from a dependent relationship to now an independent relationship, and you're doing it on your own.
And for financial reasons is one of the reasons why people stay.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you have kids.
Children.
Yeah.
Because you always say, how am I going to care for my kids?
Yeah.
Who's going to help me with my kids?
Mm-hmm. You're always thinking children. Mm-hmm. That's the number one thing that comes to your mind.
I always say that I heard an analogy where if a train is coming, and I'll ask you this, if a train is coming, who are you going to save, your children or yourself?
I'll shove them.
You would save them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say I would save me so I can pull them to safety. Because if we
You
don't save us first,
Mm-hmm.
how can I save my baby?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what my mom used to say. If you're in an airplane and you're going down, you need oxygen, but you only have one tank. Are you going to breathe, or are you going to give it to your children? And I always said, I'm going to give it to them, Mommy. I'm just going to hold it for them. She said, no. You have to breathe first so that you can help them breathe. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Mom, but meantime, they're dying. And then you give it to them, and you're breathing with them.
Yep.
And I was like, whoa, wow, okay. And I got it. And until Mommy said those things to me, I didn't change a lot of things that were wrong. Because sometimes you think, oh, you're so perfect.
Right.
I'm
great.
I'm just the greatest thing, Oh, Betty's just so fabulous. Yeah, no, Betty's not fabulous, no. Betty got a life check. And Mommy did.
As we all do sometimes.
Okay. So I'm very happy and proud of Mom. Mom went through domestic violence, as I shared with you. And she never spoke about it. So to me, my parents were the greatest things under the sun, because she always hid it. And she hid it so well that I never knew those things were going on. But then you start to talk to your family relatives, and you start learning things that
you hear the things you thought you thought never happened.
Yeah. And children see more than what you think.
They do.
And they hear more than what you think.
They do.
So, yeah. I know. Like, life check.
Yeah. I mean, even at the Providence House, we've met women who I have come in contact with women who are maybe in their 70s.
And have gotten out.
Or no, that are in an abusive relationship.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
At that
age. So there's no age, there's no gender, there's no nationality that it discriminates against. It can happen to anybody.
Wow. That's sad. Now, are there children, young girls, that are going through that? Teenagers, when they're in their dating relationship, do you think they go through that?
They do. And
have you had to help?
I met a young lady and her mother yesterday.
Mm.
And she thinks that her daughter is being abused.
Mm. That must be so tough.
It was, because when you hear somebody say, I think, because I see the warning signs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's painful as a mother because what do you
want to help? Well, how do you
how
help?
do you help?
How do you?
I mean, I did. I told her to contact me, and we'll be in touch. But after this session was over, someone else came up to me who was a young girl, and she confirmed that this young lady is being abused by her boyfriend.
Is she very
At
young?
15.
15.
They're 15.
And the boyfriend's 15.
Yes.
So high school.
Yeah.
Wow. And how do you help them? Can you help them?
You can. I would refer them to their local counseling centers to get help in law enforcement.
For him and her.
Both.
Do you think that there's a way to bring the men into the solution?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that
Because they are, the majority is a man abusing a woman. So are they part of the solution as well?
I think they are, because if you know that your brother, your uncle, your friend is beating his wife, his girlfriend,
Yes.
say something.
Yes.
Do something.
Mm-hmm.
How can you sleep at night knowing you didn't protect this woman?
Mm-hmm.
That makes you absolutely no better. I say, like, nowadays we have modern technology, and a lot of people are afraid to step up to somebody that they see in the street as being a victim, that is being abused. Call 911.
Absolutely.
Call now.
Even if it's your relative.
Even if it's your neighbor, and
Yes.
you hear something, you have to
Yes.
say something.
Yes.
I know that I personally wouldn't be able to live with myself if I didn't say something, because she may not be here.
Yes. And
I could have
that
been a
one
part of
phone
saving.
call. That's all it takes. Is that one phone call. A lot of people are just afraid of getting involved because then the victim goes right back into the abuse.
And they have to realize that that's okay.
Right. That's just part of their process, whatever process they have to do. But sometimes that one phone call,
Absolutely.
that I always tell everybody, smile, because you never know whose life you're impacting.
Absolutely.
You don't know if that smile will change that person's mindset, the way they think, the way they act, and something changes, something gets better. So, I mean, that's that one phone call.
Can mean a
never
lot.
know. You never know. Have you ever had to literally go and save somebody?
No.
Are you afraid of doing that? Would you?
I would, and I was going to sign up for the DVRT training. My heart tells me to do it, but my mind is telling me that because I want to be that person to say, come home with me. You want to rescue everybody, and I know that's impossible, but that's probably, I think, the only thing that's keeping me from doing it. It's because I just want to see.
Now, what is that?
The DVRT is a organization through Providence House. I think they have them at every county, I think. And you get a 60-hour training, and it teaches you to go to a police station or a hospital. So the hospital will call, and you'll be on call, and you'll come and talk to a victim.
Oh, okay.
So you'll give her information about a safe house,
right?
Counseling,
How to get out.
How to get out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when they get out, what should they, like when they're at the safe house? Is there a time limit? Is there a deadline for them to
I
be
believe
there?
it's between 30 and 60 days, but every case is different.
Okay. So within those 30, 60 days, they have to be prepared to go somewhere?
You have to.
Or can you stay?
Your situation is different. So that you may be able to stay for 90 days. But in that 90 days, you have to find housing. You may have to find a job. It's a process.
And it's scary.
It's a scary process. Absolutely.
I can imagine if you're out, you left your husband, you have no money, no car now, and no job, and you got to start all over again.
It's a scary
process.
process.
How do you do that? That's scary.
One day at a time.
Absolutely. Is that how you did it? One day at a time?
It was. And I had days where I would lay in my bed and I would cry.
Do you still cry?
On occasion.
About?
That I'm healed. And that was a part of my past.
Amen. And that's the greatest feeling.
It is. It is. I got another chance at life.
Were you scared that you weren't going to have that chance?
Maybe a handful of times. And I thought about it this morning that he could have took my life. He could have. But he didn't. He didn't. I was saved.
Amen. And that's the greatest story you can tell, is that you're still alive.
It is, because I get to see my children grow. My grandbaby. He's a handful.
You're ham.
Yes.
You're ham, because every time I see a picture of him, he's doing something funny.
He's his own little person. But I'm beyond grateful of the things and to have been able to reconnect with some of my family members.
Oh, because you had stopped. Wow. So that is a big blessing.
It is. It is.
And to see a new generation coming from that is a bigger blessing.
It's amazing.
Yes. So now you are really living.
I am.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank
and
you.
I thank you for being here.
Thank you for
And I
having
thank
me.
you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
And is there a number again that they can call you, contact you, if they want to run, hide? Your face is fine to me.
My telephone number is 856-724-5598.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And I will give you the number to the national hotline is 800-799-7233. 800-799-7233. And the Providence House, if you want to go where Michelle went, is 856-824-0599. 856-824-0599. And do remember that you do not have to stay in an abusive relationship. I don't care if you're there for whatever reason you think you're there. Do not stay there. Call somebody for help. Call the 911 for help. My son is a police officer, and I'm very proud of all the work that he does, because when he gets those phone calls, he knows those phone calls are serious, and he goes and he helps. He's frontline. He's right there for you. And I know that if you call your local police station, they'll call you as well. They'll help you as well. Don't be afraid of leaving. Don't be afraid of leaving, because you have to survive and you have to start a new life. And your new life is waiting just around that bend. So don't be afraid. Domestic violence, again, affects 65,000 people. 65,000 people worldwide. It doesn't have to mean that you're that one of the 65,000. I thank you for joining us today on domestic violence. Thank you, Michelle, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And we shall see you at the next episode. Bye.